in our rural areas is getting less and less. And we have a governor that mentions rural often, but does precious nothing to bring back opportunity in our rural communities. And it's very stressing. We know that we're losing our rural hospitals at a rate greater than any other state because our governor refuses to give the health care, to provide Medicaid expansion to the 400,000 plus Tennesseans who desperately need access to care. It's sitting there. We are refusing $1.4 billion a year. We could care for those people. Thousands have died in Tennessee since this has been available, and we have not passed this legislation. It is particularly horrific in a pandemic, or just after, as we're coming out of a pandemic, and we have the opportunity from President Biden to expand Medicaid for the next 2 years at zero cost to Tennessee, zero. In addition to that, more millions of dollars that would make it cost nothing, most likely for the next 10 years. And we're refusing to accept that money. Just like the governor refused to continue the $300 supplement for those folks who will continue to be unemployed. And I can promise you, through this pandemic, I spent most every one of my days helping people get their unemployment because the process was so difficult. Getting through the system, the computer system, getting someone in Nashville to call you back was near impossible. And people have struggled. And you all know, sure, there might be some low-wage jobs available on that website. There are not 250,000 jobs, as the governor says there are. Many of those jobs have been on there for 6 months. Of the jobs that have been put in the last few weeks, 97% of them are 20,000 and below. That's poverty wages. With the pandemic, we had a child care crisis before the pandemic. Since the pandemic, 1 out of 5 daycares have not come back. And so we've lost 20% of the child care options when we were already struggling with that. We could have taken some of the $4 billion in pandemic dollars and created child care, quality child care infrastructure across the state. But our governor didn't do that. Our governor spent a bunch of money on some no-bid contracts with things that we couldn't use. Continue to watch the news. I think this stuff is going to be trickling out. But while legislators, certainly in East Tennessee and all areas, elected Republican representatives got PPP loans for themselves and their businesses to the tune of about $12 million. But they supported the governor's decision to not allow hardworking Tennesseans to get that extra $300 a week to keep food on the table for their families while they're still trying to get back to work. To be able to pay the light bills and not lose their homes, which so many are still struggling with today. Finding those jobs, comparable jobs to what you had before, so that you can have a salary that matches what you had before, so that you can go back to work. How do you pay somebody $8 an hour when child care is $10 an hour? It doesn't make sense. But our millionaire governor, who never had to apply for a job in his life, has no idea what that is like. And what I want you all to do is start talking to your coworkers, your families. It's hard for me to talk to my family. They're not on the same side as me. But I have to keep pushing in a way that they hear and they understand. And so talk to people in your neighborhood. You don't have to get confrontational, but one of the great ways to message this, when you're talking about healthcare, every child should be able to go to the doctor when they get sick. No one should lose their home or their business because they get sick. That's how we talk about making sure everybody has access to affordable health care. Every child, regardless of zip code, deserves a great public education. And right now, we are 46th in funding public education. 46th in the nation in funding, and we have a $2 billion surplus. We are putting money in the rainy day fund. This past month, we put in $250 million into the rainy day fund. About 6 months before that, we put in $325 million into the rainy day fund during a pandemic. The tax receipts that have come in, we are again in a surplus. Yet we are underfunding our public schools by 46, at 46 in the nation. We're $2,000 per student behind both Kentucky and Georgia. We're $400 behind per student with Alabama. We are chasing Alabama. And quite frankly, we were a little ahead of Mississippi, but this year Mississippi made a big investment in education, so when that all shakes out, I'm not sure who's going to be up front, us or Mississippi. So we've got an administration and a supermajority that do not care about hardworking Tennessee families. They just absolutely don't. And one of the best ways to talk about this is to talk about, since the Republicans have been in charge the last 10 years, we have seen a major shift, the tax burden going from the wealthy and corporations paying their fair share to more and more of the tax burden going onto the middle class and the working poor in Tennessee. And some of the best examples of that you can talk about. Since 2017, we have given 3 massive multi-million-dollar jet fuel tax cuts to FedEx. One company, multiple tax breaks of millions of dollars for jet fuel, and in the same time period, from 2017 to now, we have raised prices at the pump on regular Tennessee families 3 times. It's very clear, whenever you see them cutting taxes, it's not our taxes. It's corporate taxes, it's millionaire taxes. And then you see a growth of our taxes, those folks in the middle and at the bottom. They're just shifting the tax burden from the wealthy and corporations onto the hardworking Tennessee families. And we're seeing it. Last year, in the budget, the largest single tax cut went to FedEx. This was not fuel, this was just for the company. $21 million tax cut. The biggest tax cut in our budget went to one company, FedEx. They had just gotten millions and billions of dollars of tax cut from the federal government. And then they got the largest tax cut out of our budget. You guys, this year, get 1 week with a state sales tax on your groceries. So for 1 week, you save $4 on $100 worth of groceries. And FedEx gets $21 million in 1 year. It's deplorable in my book. It's absolutely unfair. It's getting tougher and tougher for people to come into the middle class. Tennesseans are falling out of the middle class. One of the reasons is we've got one of the highest numbers of medical bankruptcies in the country, the state with medical bankruptcies, because we have not expanded Medicaid. We have got, I'll just be honest, we've got a supermajority in Nashville that runs around like drunken frat boys. I mean, they really do. It is embarrassing what they're doing up there. They have no concern for Tennessee people, but they certainly take care of the corporations. Another thing that you can talk about with your friends is they try to paint Democrats as extremists and liberal and all of these things. Here's what we're working on in Nashville. Here's what my legislation has been. Medicaid expansion. Almost 70% of Tennesseans, regardless of party, support Medicaid expansion. Paid family leave. 83% of Tennesseans, both parties, support Medicaid expansion. Paid family leave. Overwhelmingly, people want paid family leave. Child care infrastructure. That's another one that is up in the 80 percentile of something that both sides of the aisle want. Medical cannabis. 80+%, 81% of Tennesseans, both sides of the aisle, want to see medical cannabis. Who are the radicals? It's not us. Then you look at all of those issues that affect you at home. Raising the wage, that's another one. More than 70% of Tennesseans on both sides of the aisle believe that we should raise the wage. Because we know that living in Tennessee, you can't support a family, you can't support one person on $7.25 an hour. For a one-bedroom apartment average in Tennessee, if you're making minimum wage, you have to work 66 hours a week to pay for a one-bedroom apartment. For a two-bedroom apartment average in Tennessee, you have to make $14.75 an hour to afford a two-bedroom. So the reality is, our governor is chastising, he's saying Tennesseans are lazy, we're going to take this money away and they're going to get back to work. But guess what? Every single person I talk to, every single day, is not working because they were making $50,000 before the pandemic. They can't pay their bills on $20,000. They have 4 kids at home. The child care in their county is gone, completely gone. I talked to a woman from Daybridge, 4 kids. The 2 daycares that were there before are now closed. They did not reopen. People are going back to work because they are struggling. They're trying to keep their heads above water, and there is no one in Nashville, to the minority of Democrats, that are trying to fight for them. Meanwhile, we've got Republicans talking about issues that divide and split people up, talking about issues of equity. Why are we going after folks who, with the transgender community, where the racism is rampant in the legislature? I'm sorry, it is. And the best example I can give you is still today, the bust of a murdering slave owner, slave trader, first grand wizard of the KKK, sits in the place of honor in our Capitol, and it is not on, and it makes me sick every day. And if we can't get that on, they are showing us who they are. Every single day they protect that deplorable human being. You know, I don't care what he said on his deathbed, quite frankly. We do not need to have him in a place of honor. They can take that thing to the museum and whatever, but it needs to go, and we need to be so vocal about that. This ridiculousness, and I hope you all understand this. It's tough if you're not an educator, if you don't have a ton of time to follow the news. This is critical race theory. Understand when you're talking to people. No one in the country in K-12 is teaching critical race theory. Nobody. It's a law school course, and no one is teaching it. And be sure to say that every time you talk to somebody who brings that up. We need to teach factual history. And factual history is sometimes ugly. Because we can't be proud of so much of things in the past. But we can and will never change it if we don't talk about it, if we don't teach children about it, and make them understand what the past was so that we don't revisit it. And to recognize that some of our laws still today are promoting systemic racism. I want young people who understand the issues and want to work to make it better for every single one of us and lift up every person in the community. And these folks are, Chrissy was talking, I think, about school board, these elections. You guys, school board is critical. School board is a place they're going now to take a lot of these divisive issues, and the money being spent by the Koch brothers and the Heritage Foundation, they're taking, there's great articles that say they are taking these things to the school boards. They're bringing all this division to the school board because people really get up in arms about what their kids are learning. And it's misinformation, it's not factual, and this is where we really need strong folks just up the roadways in Elizabeth, where the teacher was fired for teaching a beautiful poem, and by Kyla Lacey is her name, and then a writing by T.C. Coates, and he has lost his job. I think the school board voted 9-0 to fire him. He was point by point teaching the standards of that classroom. The class was contemporary issues. I can't think of a more important contemporary issue right now than that. And he was fired for teaching directly to the standards of that class. And he's in a fight. He needs our support. We just had the governor fire a fabulous doctor, Dr. Shelley Fiskus, who worked her butt off at the state level during the pandemic to protect you all, to protect me, and protect all of us in Tennessee, to protect our kids. Brilliant woman who cares deeply. She was working 12 and 14-hour days every day during the pandemic. Her husband is a friend of mine, wonderful person, and because they needed a scapegoat, because the extremists in the state house and the state senate were upset that they were allowing teenage kids to make their own decisions, which is our law. She was literally following Tennessee law, following the mission of the health department, and she was fired with no cause. For 4 days, they did not say why they didn't fire her. We all knew, everybody knows. But this woman, she went on all the local news shows, all the national shows, quietly and calmly told the truth. When you're telling the truth, you don't have to worry about your story. You don't have to worry about your talking points, because it's the truth. And when you watch her, you know she's telling the truth. Because she can answer any question, she can show you the facts. But 4 days later, they came out with a bunch of lies that was supposedly in her folder, which she had never seen in her folder. And she also has the proof that those are lies. But they know that they have enough of a majority, that they can stir up all of these social issues and get folks to go pull the R lever for them, even though they're keeping those same people hungry. They're keeping them from good jobs. They're keeping them from being able to lift their farm families out of poverty, and they know they can use that. This is not, it shouldn't be about left and right. This is about right and wrong. And that's what we need to make it about, right and wrong. We know what the teachings of Christ said. I get frustrated a lot of times when these folks call themselves Christians. Their behavior is not Christian-like. It's not my understanding of what Jesus teaches in the Bible. And it's frustrating, but I'm seeing people stand up. I'm seeing people fight back. I'm seeing people that were never political, want to be political, want to get to be political and step up and run for office. So I want you guys to know, you might think, oh, well, how could I possibly run for office? I never thought I would run for office, ever. I was a teacher, I loved teaching, loved it. But when they came after my job, when they took away a teacher's seat at the table, well, that's when I got pissed, and that's when I ran for office. And a lot of us need to get that fire in our belly, and we need to step up, and we need to speak the truth. Because folks aren't getting the truth, and I'm not going to lie to you, it's hard. There are people out there that believe some crazy stuff. I mean, I've never heard such bizarre, crazy stuff that so many people actually believe. And that scares me to death. So we can do this. We need regular people who will speak truth, to stand up and run, and to talk about it in a way that makes people just talk about those kitchen table issues. How the supermajority in Nashville is doing nothing, zero, to help their family. Zero. Did constitutional carry help anybody's family in you? No, it didn't. Did it have any benefit in a pandemic? Absolutely not. But imagine if we could have expanded that again. Imagine the difference that would make. So I want you to know that we need a government of the people. So we need everybody to step up. No matter your background, no matter if you think I don't know enough. This big thing when I did. I'm just not sure I can get the votes. I just don't know enough about the issues. We can teach you. You can learn. You guys know what's right and what's wrong. And we need people right now, the basics. We need people who know right from wrong. Because the folks up there don't. And that's what we need. So, if you guys want to run for office, there are plenty of people out there to help, and all you have to do is call me, and I'll set you up with some of those people. I love that you guys are getting together, and please talk to your friends and your neighbors. And if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer questions if you have any questions at all. So.
The rainy day fund, is it an actual account or is it paper? By that I mean just a balancing item. So
we wonder a lot if stuff is actually there. Because we wonder about that a lot. But no, it's actually there. It's actually going to have, when they put this next $250 million in it, I think there will be $1.5 billion.
I mean, where is it stored? At SunTrust?
Well, I don't know precisely. But there are actually several piles of money that we have in state accounts that we probably have upwards of $4 million available. And then all this pandemic money that we're not really getting a lot of information about how we're spending it. One of the things that concerns me a lot is a lot of the money being spent is not going to state entities and state employees. They're having one of these non-profits run things like our recidivism program with prisons, and a lot of that is run through church organizations. And I get concerned when I see a lot of state money running through organizations that have a religious background. I'd rather see our own state programs and state employees addressing those issues. I have a huge concern about that. And one of my other fears, we don't have the journalists, as many journalists as we used to have, really digging into this stuff. And so I wish we had more folks like that, because I'm seriously concerned about how we are spending and where we are spending our money. We all saw in the state budget that millions of dollars went to out-of-state nonprofit organizations. Like Tim Tebow's organization and some organization in Texas that I can't remember the name of. Why are we doing that? Why are we not putting our money in Tennessee? It's very frustrating.
Lee's justification for a no.
Lee doesn't do justification. I mean, I don't know if you know this, but last, Monday afternoon when he fired Dr. Fiskus, the next day he had a press conference. Typically we call it a press conference because the person's there, they've got things to say, the press is there, the press gets to ask questions. Guess what? No press asking. Press were not allowed to ask questions. He just takes out the lead. So some of the press run along and try to ask questions, and they're shoved back by security. And I talked to one of those people afterwards, and he's like, if he just wants a photo, they can send us a picture. But we want to ask questions. We have questions. So they have really gotten this. It's kind of authoritarian. Like they don't have the answer to the people, or they don't have the answer to the press. It's scary. Quite frankly, it's really scary.
I guess my main focus is, yes, we do have people that want to run, and we've had people that have run. So what are we going to do to get the people, our communities, to get out and vote? We need to get action to our words and actually get out there and do precinct walks and get people door to door. Have you voted? Do you have this Do you have a voting registration? Can I help you fill out an application? We don't have to say, just because we're Democrat doesn't mean that, and they're Republican, let's just be kind and get people interested in actually filling out an application to vote.
So like what our county party is doing now in Knox County, they have big fundraisers, they raise a lot of money, they've hired 4 staffers right now. They're knocking doors right now. And they're doing something that's called decanvassing, and that's when you go around and you talk to people, and the conversation is you're not directing them towards a candidate, you're talking about what issues do you care about, you know, what matters to you. And then you also go back to the database and input that data, what they said. And then, when it comes time for candidate time, the candidates know, well, I'm going to go knock on this door, and that person really cares about healthcare, or that person cares about education. And so, doing that advance work, but right, in a district that you're the minority, overwhelmingly, you will not win without knocking a bunch of doors and making a lot of phone calls. And that's what we need boots on the ground for. To knock those doors, and we can draw the maps using the database, using Vote Builder. You know, you can tell me your street and your neighborhood, and I can print out a list that is only your street or only your neighborhood. And that way you can be in charge of talking to, you know, 30 to 50 of your neighbors. And you can do it with a walk list, or you can do it with a call list. But if everybody in here would just take ownership of 30 to 50 houses in their area, you know, that's hundreds and hundreds of thousands of more people that are going to be more informed and going to the polls. And then when it comes election day, you and, you know, somebody else in your household can go around and make sure that you go vote. Did you go vote? Did you go vote? Or you can call them, or you can text them and say, did you go vote? But nothing is ever more powerful than that doorstep knock. You are 10 times more likely to get someone to vote for your candidate with a door, knock on the door. 4 times with a personal phone call. If you have a great script, it can be up to 5 times with a phone call. But the mail is precious little. We're talking about around 1%, you know. So if you want to win in a tough district, you need a candidate that works their tail off, and you need folks that are going to be going knocking doors and making those phone calls.
Are you finding in Tennessee right now that there's sort of buzz about voting restriction? I mean, I don't think Tennessee has passed as many laws as, say, Georgia or Texas.
We didn't have to, we already had.
So then to follow up with that, and what this lady was saying, how can we help people who would otherwise be restricted from voting? Maybe they don't have a car or whatever. How can we get together and help those people to register and to get to polls that aren't going to break any laws that have been passed?
Well, we've done door-to-door voter registration.
Democratic Uber.
Yeah, we've done door-to-door voter registration, especially in high mobility areas like apartment. You know, people move more often in apartments, so we do voter registration in areas that are more likely to be Democratic, and areas that are where people move through, like apartments and that sort of thing. But we also set up in areas where, like more Democrats might frequent in Knoxville, we might set up in Market Square to register voters. We know we're a lot more likely to register Democratic voters. It's not that we don't register everybody, we'll register anybody. But let's be honest, I want more Democrats voting. and so just making sure and that we're getting folks registered, but talking to them about the issues. Because what's really, if you think about it in terms, sometimes people get really mad at those folks who they say are voting against their own interests. They don't realize that. People are working so hard, maybe 2 or 3 jobs to keep food on the table, to keep the lights on in their house, that they can't follow politics like I do, like some of us can. They probably listen to conservative talk radio on the way to work and on the way home, and then at home, when everything is done and they're maybe going to lay down to go to bed, they might turn on a little Fox News. They're not hearing any of the things that any of us that get our news elsewhere are hearing. And it's not that they're terrible people or anything like that. They're trying to keep their heads above water. And quite frankly, the whole point of the other side is to keep them uneducated about the issues so that they will continue to vote for them. Because the reality is this, the current Republican Party has zero policy ideas. They used to be about low taxes. We passed the $1 trillion, President Biden passed that. You don't hear a single Republican complaining. If you remember during Obama, there was all the complaints about, oh, it's going to break us, our kids will be hungry, and, you know, this is just going to ruin the world for eternity. Because of that, Biden's was bigger, and they're not even complaining about it. They're over here just trying to start problems and divide people on issues of social issues. They don't stand for anything. They just care about power. They want to keep their power, and they are greedy. And they are doing everything for special interests. You will hear in Nashville, you will hear Americans for Prosperity, and NFIB, which says they're small businesses, almost 90% funded by the Koch brothers. They're the two main entities that stop Medicaid expansion. Stop Tennesseans from being able to get healthy. And so they are catering only to those folks. They are ignoring the majority, even of their own constituents, because of their power and greed, and they know that these money folks will keep them in office because businesses don't want to pay taxes. And that's basically what it boils down to.
Gloria, I just want to say you're my personal hero. And who would have thought that not giving you an office will get so much press, right? I just wanted to comment, that's all I wanted to say. One of the things, though, when I'm looking at who you're interacting with, and I see Justin Jones, how can we help him? Does he need help?
Justin can use support in a lot of ways. They single him out. They're singling me out because I refuse to draw my support for him. He is a fabulous young man who cares deeply about his community and wants to fight. And, you know, we saw what happened on January 6th at our Capitol. And I think it was 63 days that Justin and some of the other young folks were down there protesting last summer at the People's Plaza, and how it was a peaceful protest. The only thing that wasn't peaceful were times when the Highway Patrol changed the rules and came after their face, you know. But still, they remained peaceful. And so he's really struggling because I think he's the only one left with charges. And they just added 2 more charges on him. And so we're trying to, we're going to get out in the communities. I hope that some of you guys can come out. Me and him are going to come around. He says, you know, it's kind of a good thing, like, you know, we've got the white lady with a young black man, and we're going to come and talk about these issues. But we're going to talk about it in terms of economics. Certainly, racial justice will be a part of that. But there's also, they're trying to divide, right now it's really about rich and poor. They're trying to separate the poor people by race, or by religion, or by gender. Because they know if we all band together, they cannot stop us. And that's what we've got to do. And so we have to support the causes of our friends who are black and brown. We have to support the causes of folks who in the LGBTQ community. We've got to support labor and this horrible right to work BS that they're coming at us with. If we band together, they cannot stop us. Because they might be rich and they might have all the money, but they still just have one vote each.
I heard on the news that Lee, in order to promote tourism, was going to...
You get a car, and you get a car. As long as you're in another state.
Pay the airfare of anybody coming into vacation in Tennessee.
On the exact same day that he took $300 a week over $250 to folks out of state to subsidize their vacation to come here to Tennessee on the same weekend that Nashville had a regular number of tourists. 350,000. That weekend showing that tourism is back. We don't need more promotion. And he didn't promote it in areas like this. He promoted it in Nashville and Memphis and Knoxville and Chattanooga. And that's where you had to come, you know, in order to get this. So, taking money literally out of the mouths of Tennessee families and giving it to folks from out of state to come here and have bachelorette parties and drink and throw up on the lower Broadway in Nashville.
Was that a proposal, or is it?
No, it's out there, it's done. He didn't consult anyone in the legislature. He just did it all on his own, like much of what he does. All right, well, we're here, guys, the Democrats. There's 26 of us, but we're fierce, and we want to fight for you all, and we will adopt Hamblen County. If you don't have Democratic representation